Thanks for taking the time to watch this 6-minute intro to our process for systematic innovation, which, by the way, most people think is an oxymoron. We'd like to present a case and an argument for the opposite. We created this 2-part webcast to introduce a practical and repeatable process for systematic innovation that can be used for any product or service being developed or improved for that matter. Let's start with 4 myths about innovation that we believe are false. Myth number 1. Only a few people in an organization are special enough to innovate. We think the truth is that everyone can dramatically increase their innovative abilities. Myth number 2. Innovations must be radical to be useful. We believe that innovation can be incremental and disruptive. Each has its own value. Myth number 3. Innovation is only for the R&D folks when they have major production or customer problems. We believe that innovation should be present in all aspects of your business. Myth number 4. Innovation cannot be structured or be systematic. We know that structured innovation is being successfully used by some of the world's most profitable companies. Thriving companies like Samsung, Procter & Gamble, 3M, Intel, Boeing, Kodak, Hewlett-Packard, just to name a few, are using main elements of this process. Before we dive into the details of the 8 steps, here it's all summarized on one page so you can see where we're going. This flowchart shows a bird's eye view of the same 8 steps, and we'll tackle them one by one. It's important to understand that these steps represent the framework for systematic innovation. And by the way, our definition for systematic innovation is a structured process and set of practical tools used to create or improve products or services that deliver new value for your customers. So let's take a look at each step with a closer lens. Step 1. Identifying current and emerging customer needs. You know, there's a lot of debate out there when developing new products. Should you explore or ignore the voice of the customer? We're convinced that you need to do both, explore and ignore. And maybe a better word for ignore would be to go beyond what the customers can actually tell us. We start with conventional voice of customer best practices like interviews, surveys, and observational techniques, but we supplement those with some non-conventional approaches to better understand emerging needs. Tools that go beyond what the customers can actually articulate. Techniques like trend analysis, painstorming, patterns of system evolution, and other techniques that just change the perspective on how we look at today's products and services. This step, like many of the other steps we're going to show you, are not trivial tasks, but can be done very effectively with the proper tools. An example of one of the tools we use for exploring the voice of the customer shown here is the opportunity matrix. The goal of this step is to document, organize, and analyze the customer needs to figure out the critical few areas that we need to spend our precious energy on. As you can see here, customer input is translated into metrics, which is a critical step, and then we prioritize the opportunities based on an importance satisfaction algorithm. We also look for cost reduction and hidden opportunities. And finally, we develop an action plan that includes a specific deployment strategy and lead responsibility for each of the areas. As I mentioned before, we have additional techniques that go beyond the voice of the customer to understand emerging needs. That output is prioritized as well to identify the critical few emerging areas we need to work on. So this brings us to step 2, translate key problems and opportunities from step 1 into standard problems. Standard problems are nothing more than problems that have been seen over and over again. It's been shown that 90% of the fundamental problems people face have already been solved, so why not leverage the knowledge and solutions that already exist? So in this step, we're translating our key problems and opportunities into an existing set of standard problems that have solutions or methods to derive these solutions readily available. Most of the time the translation is pretty easy, but when it's not, we use function modeling and root cause analysis to help us reformulate any difficult problems into these standard problems. This brings us to step 3. Select the appropriate systematic innovation tool for the standard problem that we identified in step 2. So this step is where we help you pick the right innovation tool for the job. One of the methods we use to do that is our tool selection matrix. Here's a partial view of it, and I know it looks very complicated at first glance, but you'll find it's surprisingly simple. On the left side are generic standard problems. Things like needing a wow to differentiate your product, or solving a technical problem, resolving a conflict, circumventing a competitor's patent, reducing cost or complexity, and so on. On the top are over 25 systematic innovation tools for idea generation and problem solving. We'll talk more about these in the next step. The center shows how effective each innovation tool is for that generic problem on the left. Each cell is actually color-coded. The darker the cell, the better the tool is for that particular situation. Just like your tools at home, you pick the best tool for the job, right? You don't grab a hammer to fix everything, at least if you want to get the job done right. The same thing happens here. There's no universal innovation tools that one size fits all. So we need to select the right tool for the job. So for example, if you want to reduce cost or complexity, you look across the horizontal row and you pick the most appropriate tools. Things like the trimming technique, the effects knowledge base, lateral benchmarking, value innovation, and so on. Now, if your standard problem out of step 2 is not generic like the ones on the left side of the matrix here, but very specific like eliminating vibration or increasing the intensity of electromagnetic waves, there's also a huge knowledge base of techniques and methods to address these specific type of problems as well. The summary for this step is pick the best innovation tool for the job. This brings us to step 4 in the process, generating ideas and concepts using the appropriate systematic innovation tools. This step will be continued on part 2 of this webcast.